Hey YouTube. So I've got my next project here. I'm planning on staining this fence. You can see I've got part of it done here. I started using a pump sprayer as an applicator, and then back brushed it with this brush, this 4-inch brush that you see down there. But you know, this Valspar paint, or stain rather, it's a semi-transparent stain, comes out pretty thick. It doesn't spray out very well with the pump sprayer. It's supposed to have a fine mist to put it on evenly, and it doesn't do that. As you can see over here, thankfully I started in this obscure corner. It comes out in a very thin stream, and it splatters everywhere. So we had to roll it on with this brush, and I could tell you I've got a ton of fence to do. Just an example, here's part of this fence that I'm planning on doing. Bear with me as I slide it over, but I've got this fence over here that runs along that side, and then I'm gonna twist around here. I've got this fence all back here, this side, all this run of fence that goes all the way down there, and then there's even more fence way over there. And we're talking front and back of both sides of this fence. So I decided that brushing this on and trying to spray it is for the birds. This isn't going to work. It's going to take way too long. This one section right here has taken me about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and it's ridiculous. So what I'm going to do, I went ahead and went to the store and bought one of these Flexio Wagner. This is a Wagner Flexio 3000. So I've got zero experience with this. I'm going to give it a try, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. You'll be able to see, you know, what a complete novice to one of these airless sprayers is going to be able to do for this pretty large fence project. So stay tuned. I'm going to unpack this thing, get this thing loaded up, and we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to take this thing apart, see what we got inside. Whoop. So we've got spray cup liners, my warranty. So I want to make sure I fill that out. Instructions. Also looks like there's some filters in there. All right. Sure, I'm gonna find out what that is. This unit's got the paint container, and then a secondary paint container. I think the cover showed that this one was more for precision spraying than the other one. So I've got some information on this cover to read, but once I get this going, looks like everything's been taken out of the box. I'll find out a little bit more about it and let you know. Okay, so I've gone through everything that's inside the box. I want to show you really quickly how to put this together, because it can be a little confusing. This dial here is for the thinner or thicker paint or stain that you may be using. So if you got really thin paint, you want to put on a lower setting. If you got some thicker paint, you're going to want to go ahead and put it on a higher setting. And then you can just clip this in. It slides right in there like so, and then it locks in. There you go. It locks in on the bottom down here. And that's how you release it. You pull this little trigger down and it turns. This dial here that you see in red, everything you see in red is an adjustment for this spray gun. This allows for the amount of airflow that comes through. So if you put it on its highest setting like this, it barely releases the nozzle, so hardly any air will come through, or the velocity of the material. You can put it on a lower setting, it goes faster. This red one is the width of the spray that comes out, a very thin spray or a wider spray that comes out of the nozzle. Now this does adjust. You can turn it this way for a vertical spray, or you can turn it this way for a horizontal spray. But again, pretty easy to take this off. Slide it out like that, turn it off, and then this is, as I thought, a precision nozzle. Again, lock it in there. You're good. Same thing, much finer spray. So pretty simple to use so far. Haven't done anything with it as of yet, but it also came with a pipe cleaner to clean out what is inside here. It also came with an additional nozzle just in case this one gets damaged, and it has instructions on how to replace that, and then some petroleum jelly for you to store it, put it in there so it doesn't go bad and dry out completely. It does have the instruction booklet, some tips on how to mask off a room, and then it's even got this practice sheet in here so you can test the spray horizontally and vertically for you. There are some additional filters, as I said before. These filters go in the side. This just pops right out. You can put a filter here and a filter here. That's where the air comes in. So you want to keep these clean. Outside of that, that's pretty much everything. We're going to see how it works. So I just want to give you an example how this works. This tank holds 45 fluid ounces. So I want to show you how it works and about how far you'll be able to get with one of these tanks filled with paint, at least for this type of paint. I'm using a Valspar fence and deck sealer. So here we go. Hopefully this works well. Bradley, can you grab me the brush? It's on the back of the swing. Big brush. So far away. All right, so that's about one panel. I have a little bit of paint left. I could probably go about another quarter panel. But if you notice, it sucks it up pretty heavily when you first put it on. So I go back for a second run. And I will, I'll back brush it here just a minute to eliminate any drip marks that could be there. But that's pretty much it. All right, so I've had an opportunity to finish the fence using the Wagner Flexio 3000. I want to give you some feedback on this so far after using it for the past few days. A couple of things. I mean, it's really great. My review on this is fantastic. I would highly recommend it to anybody. You know, you've got the air powered, as they say. The adjustment here worked fantastic. For some really low viscosity things, you want to go ahead and go with a really low, a low setting, or some thicker paint, you want to go with a higher setting. My number, the type of paint that we were putting on the fence, really hovered between 5 and 6 was the most ideal. I also noticed that this adjustment for the amount of paint that gets to flow through the sprayer was really good as well, right? So depending upon how much, again, the viscosity of that paint and how much you want to put on your wall, your surface, really easy to adjust on the fly. I do want to point out a couple of things that I noticed were a bit of a challenge, and I would highly recommend you pay attention to a few things. One, when you're turning this on and off and locking it in, sometimes as you go to turn it on, if you've taken it off, and this trigger will be pulled back that far, sometimes it grabs right here and you can't get it on. You have to press it really hard, and it will pop free, but it's much easier if you just push it forward manually to get that on there. The second thing I did notice also in this mechanism, and I'll take this off to show you a little easier, this piece of the trigger would sometimes push forward like that, and you can't get that back in very easy. It doesn't want to go back, so you have to lift this up and push it through. You might not notice that when you're going to spray, but if that's pushed forward and you try to pull that trigger, there's not going to be any airflow, and the paint's just going to dribble right out of the front. So you want to pay attention to that. And then also, you know, this comes off pretty easy. I didn't notice, probably because I didn't read all the instructions, that this piece comes out from here as well. When you're cleaning it, it just comes right on out of there. So when you push it back in, you can push it all the way up, and it seals pretty good inside. And then, of course, you can even adjust it depending upon how your angle is inside, you know, the house, whether you're painting and you're tipping it down as you're painting, or if you're painting higher up, you can turn this so it grabs the majority of the paint inside the container. Anyway, so this also, I want to point something out. This was really important. Inside this, as you go for a while, paint will get inside here and will dry. But I want to note something. Right here, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to try to get in here. There's a little vent hole. That vent hole right there will get paint in it. And if that paint gets in there and dries, it doesn't allow air to replace the paint in the container. And that'll cause your paint to very faintly come out of the sprayer. The air will be going perfectly fine from the machine. You'll be thinking everything's great and hardly any paint's coming out. More than likely, that's the culprit. You're going to want to take a toothpick and clean that out and make sure there's nothing in there. So this makes it really easy to clean as well when you've got this all separated. Something else I wanted to point out on this, you can take these pieces apart. These pieces both come off to help clean this. So they come right off. They're just made of plastic, really easy to clean up. And there will be overspray that gets on this. And then inside here, this is clearly where the paint comes out too. That just gets pushed right through. You can clean that out as well. There's a seal inside here you want to keep clean. And then of course, any paint that gets inside there, you want to clean that off as well. This also, there's the adjustment for the width of your spray pattern, narrow and wider. This does get pushed forward a little bit. If it gets pushed forward like that, it locks it. So you're going to want to make sure it gets pulled back. But outside of that, this unit works great. There are air filters here that you can just take a screwdriver, push that right inside there. On both sides, they give you replacement air filters for this as well. Well balanced, easy to hold. It's not too heavy. The extension cord could be a little longer, but you know, all in all, if you have a long extension cord, you're perfectly fine. I haven't had a chance to use the fine spray attachment, but I'm sure I will the next time, and I'll give you a review on that. So at the end of this video, I'll put together a few before and after photos of what I've done. So you can see, again, how easy it is to put this together. And you can see how it works and how well it works on the fence. Let's put together here. You want to see that lines up like this. That's in. Screws right up in there nice and tight. There's that, and then it just turn it this way, lock it in, and when you turn this, ensure that that gets out of the way, locks right in. There you have it. The Wagner Flexio 3000. I would recommend it to anybody.